Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times. And as you can see by the title, we're here to do a book tag. Now I keep seeing tags around that I would like to do, and I also have friends that tag me in their videos, and I feel like I never have the time to actually do them, so I decided today we're gonna do one of them. And of course I wanted to pick one that is horror themed, so we have today the horror movie book tag.
It's coffee time.
We're gonna jump straight to those questions, but if you're here for the first time and if you love books and you love horror, you might consider subscribing to the channel and also hit the notification bell so you don't miss any more coffee times. The first question is The Zombie Apocalypse, a book you would save when civilization ends. And for this one, I had to think a little bit. I think we all have many books that we love, that we would love to preserve. I think there are many books out there that have deserved salvation. But I decided to be boring and go with a classic. I personally would save Dracula by Bram Stoker. I just feel like this is a classic that you could read it now in modern time and still get so much out of it. And also it's a book with mixed media, okay, because we have letters and diaries. And I just think it's just still so good in the present time, even though it's a classic. And it is one of those that I can reread anytime without problem. And I think it would be great to save that one, also to preserve vampires in books. Moving on with The Vampire, a book you would stake through the heart. And I'm still kind of bitter about a book that I read recently in February, and it just did me dirty. And that is The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Season of the Witch, the first book on this series. I unhauled it already, it's gone, bye-bye, ciao, see you never. And it just was so frustrating to me because you guys know I love the original graphic novel. I like the Netflix show except last season's, and I really grabbed this series thinking, you know, this is a way for me to continue with the characters and with the show now that the show is finished. And it was just so frustrating to me because the characters didn't feel like themselves, and Sabrina was being this jealous brat, and I just couldn't handle it. It was too much pain. So definitely it's one that I will gladly stake through the heart. Our next category is Haunted House, a book that still haunts you. So for here, I have decided to pick 3 books that for one reason or another, they were messed up or they scared me, and I still think about them. So the first one is Endless Night by Richard Lehman. This is about some killers that go into people's houses, kind of home invasion story at the beginning, and it is very violent, gory, disturbing. Gave me Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes at some point, and it was just so messed up that I still think about it. We also have Dollhouse by John Hunt. This is a book in which a girl is kidnapped and her father is looking for her. And honestly, this was also another one that was just so messed up and so disturbing that I still kind of think about it. It still kind of haunts me a little bit, and it is one that I would actually like to reread at some point as well. I feel like all the books that are really messed up and still haunt me, I would like to reread at some point. And the next one is a book that it wasn't per se disturbing or messed up, but it is one of those books that actually really got me scared and gave me like real goosebumps, and that is Desperation by Stephen King. I have been meaning also to reread this book since, I don't know, forever. I read it many years ago, and I've never revisited, so I think it's gonna be time at some point to go back to the story and find out if it's still as scary as it was for me back then. Also, please excuse my birds today. They are extra chatty today, just for me extra when I want to record a video, so we're just gonna have to roll with it. The next category is Psychological Thriller, a book with a twist that you did not see coming, and I am choosing for this one Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. Now, this is a thriller. You kind of expect there's going to be a twist at some point, but I was not ready for the twist of this book. I was like not expecting that at all. and I absolutely loved it. It is still my favorite Riley Sager book so far, and I just loved it so much. Definitely, if I had to reread a Riley Sager book, it would be this one at this point. And if you have not checked it out yet, I would definitely recommend you to pick it up. And if you guys have never heard about this book before, let me tell you, this is the story about a girl that needs money. So she sees an ad about someone that is looking for an apartment sitter, so she decides to take the job, and the only thing that she has to do is stay in this beautiful apartment at this kind of exclusive luxurious building that everybody knows of. And normally, you know, when on paper things look too good to be true, it's because there is a catch. Next is The Creepy Doll, a book that looks innocent but it isn't. And for this category, I wanted to pick a book that I have never mentioned in my channel before, because I read these prior to my booktube channel, and that is Slade House by David Mitchell. Apparently it looks like a regular normal book, but it is really dark and twisted. This is the story that if you are at the right time, at the right place, in this alley, with the right star constellation, you will find a door to a house and a stranger will invite you inside. What you don't know is that when you enter, you don't know if you're ever gonna go out again. This book starts on the 70s, I believe 1979, and ends in 2015, I think, because every 9 years a guest is chosen to enter the house. And now we have The Monster, a book that you could barely tackle or defeat. And for this I have for you guys It by Stephen King. I know it's a Stephen King book, but I remember the first time I read this book and it took me months to finish it. It is very slow paced, there is a lot of things that are happening at the same time, and it took me a while to get through it. Did I love it? Yes, I did. But it still took me some time to read it, because I think this was 1,200 pages or so. I think I have read this book now 3 times, and every time I read it, it gets a little bit faster for me because I am familiar, you know, with the story and with the characters. Also, the movies help, especially the last 2 movies by David Muschietti, because they are fairly faithful to the book. And currently the only copy that I own from it is the first edition hardcover UK edition, and so I have that one in bubble wrap packed for when I move to display it properly. But I want to get myself a copy just to read, and I want to find one that is comfortable for me to read. I don't want one of those like mass market paperbacks or anything like that. But anyways, even though this is a monster, it's a book that I would still love to read again. The comedy horror is our next category, a book with mixed genres that worked or didn't. Your choice. And here I have for you 2 different picks. The first one is I Am Not a Serial Killer by Dan Wells. This is a very specific type of humor. This is the story of a teenager that lives in a small town, and he helps his family on the mortuary, and there is apparently a serial killer on the loose in this small town. So after the first bodies appear, he starts to get really interested, and he decides that he wants to help to solve the case and find out who is killing these people. He himself is a sociopath. He considers himself a sociopath, and he has a set of rules for himself in order not to become a killer himself. And the way this teenager talks, I believe he is 15 in the book when we first meet him in the first book, and just the type of humor is just so dark and so dry. It is exactly my thing. And the other book that I would like to recommend you is Camp Carnage by Elliot Arthur Cross and Joshua Winning. This is the perfect summer slasher, and we also have great representation for the LGBT community. This is one of my favorite horror books that has LGBTQ characters, and we follow a group of girls and boys that are all being sent to this summer camp that is supposed to make homosexuals straight. And just the way that they do the humor in the book, the slasher parts, because not only are they being sent to this camp that already sounds like hell, but also there is a serial killer on the loose, and I just love this book so much. It's also perfect for summer, you guys, if you want to pick it up, and another one that just has the type of humor that works for me. In number 8 we have The Cliched Teen Horror, a book you found super cliched, stereotypical. And for this one I'm gonna pick again a book that I do enjoy, even though it did have some tropes from your typical teenage slasher, and that is Clown in a Cornfield by Adam Caesar. And this was just so much fun. Does it have some tropes, some cliches? Yes, it does. But you know what? It worked because the author made it funny. He did not pretend to make a book that it was too serious, and that is exactly why it worked. Plus, there's a lot of slashing, there's a lot of blood, and I loved it. In this story we follow Quinn and her father that moved to this really small town between cornfields, and we have a town in which the old people are against the younger generations, and also the other way around. So it's kind of like old against modern, and there is also a clown involved in this book, hence, you know, the name. And like I have said, it is just so much fun, and it's also perfect for summer. If you're looking for just a fun slasher and you want specifically a YA book, this is the one. The Demonic Possession, a book so gripping you needed an exorcist to escape it. And for this I'm going to choose a book that I read twice the same year, and I would reread again in a heartbeat, and that is I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. This book is going to follow me forever. This is a book I could reread every year. It's just the way it's written, it's just so beautiful to me, and it has such an impact that I feel like also every time I read it I could discover new things. I absolutely love this book. I think this is one that either you love it or you hate it, but I absolutely love it. And it follows the story of a young couple that are driving to meet the boyfriend's parents, and on the way there they start talking about a lot of things, and one of those is ending things. This book is like nothing you have experienced before. I think it's part of the reason why I'm so mesmerized by the story and this book and the characters. This is a book that it's not straightforward. It's a book that is going to demand you to really pay attention, to really kind of try to put the pieces of the puzzle together, and I think that made the book so much more engaging for me, and I just absolutely love it. And our last question is the science fiction, a precious book you would permanently sacrifice to aliens for the good of mankind. And for these I have chosen a book that just has a concept that I'm hoping we're never going to see materialize and become true, and that is The Loop by Ben Oliver. The sequel is coming this year and I'm really excited to pick it up. This is YA science fiction, and it's one that really surprised me in a positive way because it was so fast-paced and so interesting. And we're following a futuristic world in which teenagers that have committed certain crimes, even really small ones, they're all sent to this place called The Loop, and they either can, you know, fulfill their sentence and be killed, or they can offer their bodies and themselves for experiments, buying themselves more time to stay alive, which is just so dark of a premise. And I think that's also part of why I enjoy it so much, because it is YA science fiction, but the story and the concept of this book is really dark, and I just would toss this away so that nobody would come to the idea to actually do it because you never know. Alright, you guys, so this was the horror movie book tag. Now I'm not gonna tag anybody because I think this one has been going around for some time, so probably most of you have already done it, but if you haven't, please feel free to do it. I'm gonna leave the questions down below in case that you want to do it yourself. Let me know also which book specifically would you like to keep and which one would you like to sacrifice, because I think those are some of the most interesting questions in this tag. Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Please give the video a big thumbs up for support, and I hope to see you all guys as always in our next coffee time. Bye.